Hi.
Hello, we're gonna wait for the other candidates to join us. So, we'll give it until 5:05 and then we'll begin. Okay, I think all of the FYCC candidates are here. I think we can go ahead. I know I said we'll wait until 5:05, but I think since everyone was able to join earlier than that, we can go ahead and start. Okay. So give me 1 second. Carson, do you mind putting the link to the poll everywhere in the chat for
Yep,
everyone?
I got you.
Okay, cool. So there is going to be a way to ask questions live. Just give me 1 second. All right, guys, welcome to the FYCC debates. My name is Madalika Kasturi, and I am the current election commissioner for this year for fall 2020 and spring 2021. I am a senior, and as you know, like we are having FYCC debates today. Just give me 1 moment. Just some basic guidelines of how this is going to work. Speakers are going to have 45 seconds to speak for each question. As time begins to run out, as we get closer to 7 p.m., I am allowed to shorten this to 30 seconds if we feel that we need to do that. We are also going to have a platform available called Poll Everywhere that Carson will be dropping a link to in the Zoom chat where you can ask questions to candidates directly during the live debate. And the way that that's going to work is as I'm asking the questions that have been already submitted or pre-made by Student Union, I will ask those first. And then following that, I'm going to ask the questions from Poll Everywhere. So that's how that's going to work. All constituents, if you are not, should be muted unless you are a current candidate speaking at that time. Obviously, don't be muted. But yes, please be respectful of staying muted. That way we can have a very clear recording to go on Facebook and other SU platforms for all students who were not able to attend the debate tonight. Also, if anyone has any sort of issues, just private message me on Zoom. You can also text me if that's easier for you all. I'll probably drop my phone number in the chat as well. With any sort of questions and concerns, you can just let me know during the debate. And also, as always, be respectful. I'm sure that this is not going to be a problem, but always got to say it. Okay. So with that, give me one moment as I pull up the questions. In the meantime, I would like to ask all the candidates to edit their name in Zoom to include their pronouns at the end. If that would be amazing if you all could do that. Okay, I'll give you guys a minute to do that. Does anyone have any questions before we, oops, I'm sorry, Isabel. Before we begin. That's my phone number, I just dropped it, okay. Wow, okay, amazing. Okay, we shall get started. Today we're gonna start with the presidential candidates, of which we have 4. I'm going to call them out and have them just introduce themselves, just give their name and their pronouns, and then we can begin with the debate questions. Okay. All right, just before I start, Carson, is the Poll Everywhere set up well? Like, will I be getting the text messages or?
Yeah, I can just like copy and paste the text messages and send them to you privately in the chat for Zoom.
I think we're all set. Okay, starting with Rita, do you mind introducing yourself really quickly with your name and pronouns?
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great night so far. My name is Rita Qureshi. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm one of some amazing candidates running for first-year class council president.
Okay, Leah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Leah Despotis, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Okay, thank you. Becca.
Hi guys, my name is Becca and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and thank you guys for tuning in tonight.
Okay, and lastly, Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia Robbins. My pronouns are also she, her, hers. Thanks for being here.
Amazing. Okay. So the first question is going to be to Rita. We're just going to go down the line. What are the 3 qualities that make you a good leader and a good candidate for FYCC president?
Of course, thank you so much for asking. So one of the qualities that I think makes me most qualified for this position is I know exactly what students are going through. I'm a low-income student. I'm grinding out at BD every night trying to get my work done. I'm struggling to afford WashU, but I'm trying to get resources to get there. So one thing is that I know what you're going through. I'm also experienced when it comes to working this system. I founded a racial justice nonprofit in my hometown of New Jersey, and I actually got into the Board of Education for my high school. And so I know what it means to voice frustrations that don't normally get heard to positions of power. And finally, I'm empathetic. I know how to look at things from different sides. I'm non-biased, and I can definitely facilitate a conversation between two different sides, two different opinions. One thing that's so great about a college campus is we have different opinions and we're able to voice it. And I want to be a conduit for that. I want to be a bridge for different opinions. That's it. Thank you.
Leah, did you want me to repeat the question or?
No, that's perfect. One quality is just my experience. I was the former vice president of my high school, and one thing that I really loved to do was work with students on the individual level. I heard what their concerns were, and I decided to create different initiatives that followed exactly what they wanted. So that's just one way. I just love to hear students, their concerns, and then just follow through on that because I've seen how that has worked. Another thing is I'm very compassionate about service. I formed a service club at my school, so that's just one of my biggest passions is serving and reaching out in the community. And lastly, I care about issues on campus. I know that there's so many ways that we have met a lot of challenges this year academically, so I hope that through my experience and my service that I can best serve all of you.
Okay, thank you. Becca.
Sure, yeah. My first point is that I care about community. I care about you guys. I care about everything that we go through. Back home, I was the radio DJ at Children's National Hospital because I wanted to allow kids to have a platform for their voice and to be able to connect with their community, which is the main thing that I really want to foster here. And I think that's so important for all of us to be able to relate to one another and connect on such a deep level, because that's how we're going to get through school and that's how we're going to get through these tough times together. The second thing is that I want to see change. Like all of you guys, there's so much turmoil going on right now in the US, let alone at college, and we all want to see change. And I think if we work together, we can really make that happen. And lastly, I want to be an advocate for everybody. I want you guys to feel comfortable coming to me with your problems and with your qualms with the system, and have trust in me that we can fix this together.
Okay. Julia?
Yes. So the first word that I would use to describe me as a leader and a person in general, I think I'm a really great listener. And that's come from years of, just being a person, but also like being engaged with journalism. I think that's made me able to ask really important questions and the questions that people need that have to be asked. And I think that has allowed me to really learn about the issues going on in our community and what is affecting students and what change they want to see. And so I will use my listening to better this community. I will also say I am very experienced as a leader. I was the editor-in-chief of like an 80-person paper in high school. And so I just have a ton of experience leading a bunch of different types of people and making sure that people feel comfortable having their voices heard. And that was always a main focus in all the things that I led throughout high school. And then the third I'll say is determined. If I want to get something done, like no one's going to be able to stop me from pushing for that change to happen. And there was one, I won't go into a long anecdote, but there was one memorable experience in high school. It was not like, no, am I cut off?
Yes,
Wait,
I'm sorry.
okay, hear me about that experience, I'll tell you.
Yes, okay. We are gonna switch it up. There is a question from a first year. So this is to all the presidents. What are your views on the future of Greek life at WashU? So Rita, if you wanted to start us off. Again, this is a hard 45-second limit. I'm sorry, guys, but this is...
No worries, no worries. So just to start off, at this point, we've all read the stories on the Abolish Greek Life page, and so we can establish some undeniable facts about Greek life. Low-income students can't afford Greek life, people of color are tokenized and targeted in Greek life, and sexual assault is normalized in Greek life. So while Greek life, yes, provides a sense of community and career connections, if we look at who Greek life hurts, we need to make sure that any actions we take with Greek life, be it abolition or reform, take into account that WashU needs forms of community and connection aside from Greek life. So the future of Greek life, we need to make sure that we're protecting our people of color, our low-income students, and our women students. And so we also need to make sure that we have forms of connection and forms of campus and community besides Greek life. That's what I think the future of Greek life will be, is forming connections apart from Greek life.
Thank you. Okay, Leah?
Yeah, Right now, as Rita has just said, there's a lot that's going on with that. So right now it's just a grass movement, but I want to bring it to a university-wide conversation. There's a lot of competing interests about what is going on. So what we have to really do is work through a compromise. And to do that, we need to meet with administrators. And it's essential to allow students to be at the center of the discussion and reach a point where we can amplify the voices so we can create the change that's necessary. So obviously right now, none of us can speak directly on what the Greek life experience it is, but we do hear and empathize with people's struggles. So we have to bring people together with a common goal and not divide people, whatever path we choose to make with this.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, sure. The word that I would use to describe the future of Greek life, I believe, is reform. I think there are many things that Greek life has a lot of beneficial qualities for. It's great for community service. It's great for uniting different people of different backgrounds together. And it definitely creates a nice bond between many people. But I do think that there are a lot of problems with the current state of Greek life and its state at WashU. And there are many other ways that we can foster community and connections that are beyond Greek life. And right now, the future of Greek life, although it is important to foster those connections, I don't believe that its pertinence is necessary in the WashU community.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, Julia.
Yeah, so I think that Greek life is past the point of reform. And I think that not only are students on the outside of Greek life acknowledging that and recognizing that fact, but also students within Greek life. We saw this summer like mass abdications from Greek life, which it shows that, you know, this should not be an issue that there's a ton of divide on, because as Rita like eloquently pointed out at the beginning, like there are so much systemic issues that run through Greek life, and it's so hard for marginalized students to get involved to the same degree as like wealthy white students. And I think we have to turn to what are these buildings, like what could they be used for in the future, and what are ways that we can really help have affinity spaces and ways for there to be positive connections built instead of like systems built on like a lot of like oppression.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we are gonna ask the next question. How do you plan to promote diversity, inclusion, and identity as a first-year class president? Rita.
So one thing that I want to make sure students know on campus is that their identity is valued and prioritized by the university. And so like Leah Despotis was saying before, that includes making sure the university hears out its students of color, its low-income students, its Jewish students, its students that are non-binary, students that are part of the LGBT+ community. We need to make sure that university officials are hearing when these students have concerns that aren't getting voiced. Issues like homophobia and racism can't be seen as a you issue or an issue that people of color or LGBT+ folks need to solve. It needs to be an issue that we systemically solve. And so one thing that I want to do to make sure that we foster a sense of identity on campus is giving students a voice. And if they don't feel comfortable using that voice for themselves, then I want to be there to voice any concern they have. I want to listen to every single concern that they have, and I want to be able to voice that to an administration and not only sit down at the table and have that conversation, but come out with a solution. I'm not leaving the table empty-handed, that's for sure.
Thank you. Leah?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I want everyone to feel comfortable to talk to me or anybody else in first-year class council, and I'm sure that everyone feels the same way here. But one thing that I think is very important is awareness, and I think we could use topic-specific educational programs, guest speakers, just to raise awareness of a lot of the issues that are going around on campus that are affecting people and that are making people feel not comfortable to speak up. So another thing we can do is just build a very comprehensive form of communication. And that's something that I really want to prioritize, because I want students to be able to articulate exactly where they feel that they're not being fit in and hear everybody's perspectives. And that way we can come up with programs to facilitate understanding everybody's perspective.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, I think we have so much power in this first year class. We are more diverse than any school in the top 10 right now. And this is the first time that this happened in WashU history. And I think we have so much potential to utilize that for good. And as a member of the LGBTQ community, I definitely understand what it feels like to be marginalized in different communities. And I want everybody to be able to feel that they are comfortable in their own skin. And no matter how you identify, to be able to feel comfortable on campus and off campus, and to be able to feel like you have a person to turn to, whether it's me or other students in the community. Building that community, I think, is so important, and I want everybody to feel safe doing so. And I think uniting students together and incorporating faculty and different parts of the administration so that we can really create a cohesive unit where everybody cares for one another is what's important and what's going to make people feel the most comfortable.
Julia?
Yeah, so as people have said, it's not just about like listening. I mean, that's of course the first step, but it's also about making sure that we're amplifying the actual demands that students have. So I mean, like one concrete thing that we could do, for instance, is like having every student have their names put in their bios. I'm sure there's a way to do that over Zoom, like to have the school sponsored, Zoom facility, like have that happen. And so there's small things like that that can make students feel more welcome and in this community. And those are steps that we have to take. And it's also just pushing for action on the streets. Like we saw there was an action yesterday for social justice, and we have to be there and be showing up and encouraging other students to do that as well. That's how we're going to create a better community here.
Thank you. The next question we're going to have you all answer is, how are you, if you are, actively implementing anti-racism into your platform and future plans as a member of the FYCC? Rita?
One thing I want to make clear is that anti-racism means getting tangible change. And so the university has been great at getting people of color and diverse socioeconomic conditions onto campus, but they haven't given us the resources that we need to thrive on campus. HAPIF doesn't have a single therapist of color, and that's beyond ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to bring a bunch of students of color onto your campus, we need to be more than a diversity hire or a quota filler. And so I want to make sure that anti-racism involves not just performative activism, not just founding a center for racial studies, but also making sure that the students you bring here have the opportunities to thrive. That means giving them mental health resources that work for students of color. That means giving them affordable options. That means releasing spring semester plans early so that students of low-income backgrounds have time to get affordable travel plans figured out. And so what I want to make sure is that the university is held accountable for the things that they say they're doing to promote anti-racism. It can't just be in words, it has to be in actions.
Leah?
Yeah, exactly as Rita was saying, I think we need more resources to support suppressed voices on campus. And one way that could manifest is through academic resources. I feel like we should give, especially the studies that have suppressed voices involved with them, more opportunities to reach out and be involved. And maybe we could do more cultural fairs, things like that. In addition, I think we really need to focus on giving people opportunities to thrive academically. And to do that, we need more career opportunities. And this will both foster inclusion and give people resources they need to succeed in areas that they might not be as familiar about. So that's just one way we can get involved.
Okay, time. Becca?
Yeah, anti-racism is of the utmost importance. And I can't say that I can speak from any minority and racial background, but what we do need is education. And that's something that everybody needs. And that is something that can help immensely with anti-racism, because even if you don't have time to attend protests, although they are amazing, if you don't have time to be active on social media, if you don't have time to commit to anti-racism blogs or watching TV, or you can be informed in other ways, and you can absorb that information from your friends. You can spread that awareness to friends. Even telling your friends about something that you learned helps spread the awareness about anti-racism, which is what we need. And we need that education. That education can come in all forms. It can come from watching documentaries. It can come from reading blog posts. It can come from sharing information and listening to podcasts. It can come in so many different forms, and it's so easily accessible. And we need to publicize how easily accessible anti-racism media is and put that out for the WashU community.
Julia?
Yeah, Okay. If we do things right, racial justice will be the main focus of student union this year. I'd work as closely as possible with already existing groups on campus who are fighting for racial justice to help amplify their messaging and make sure that their ideas and concerns have the support of student union. So when they make their demands to the administration, admin will see mass support for change. I would also make sure that any student who wants to attend an action for social justice has people they can meet up with beforehand in case what's holding them back from going is feeling alone. Additionally, I would better publicize events to first years because right now it can be hard to know how to get involved. Above all else, we must listen to POC students on campus and let their voices lead the conversation while making sure that they know that not only are allies listening, but are standing with them to take action.
Okay, thank you guys so much. The next question is this. At a time when students are experiencing some of the most challenging experiences of their lives amongst the pandemic, and particularly for BIPOC students who are forced to watch the continuous bloodshed and murders of Black and Brown people, while being 100% capacity of given by the university, how are you suited to provide tangible support and resources for students who won't just occupy a moment? If you guys need me to clarify that question, I can try my best.
Yeah, could you, I don't know if read any, but I'd like a clarification if possible.
Yeah, let me try and read it again.
I think I get the gist of it. I mean, I could give it a go.
Okay, yeah.
Should I? Okay. So this question means a lot to me, actually, because really recently I just heard that one of my closest friends was brutally attacked by police. They broke his ribs, they threw him into jail without charge. And it was really hard for me to get my head around that. And it became clear immediately that the university does not have the resources to support students that are grappling with the effects of police brutality, with the effects of a highly racialized and high tension political election. And so what I want to make sure is that classes are as flexible as possible for students of color that are struggling, and students in general that are struggling with this pandemic and this election. I want to make sure that grade cutoffs and deadlines are a lot more lenient for students, because at the end of the day, we're still in a pandemic, we're still adjusting. We went through months of virtual school and we don't know how to handle this yet. So we need time to adjust. I also want to make sure that we get a therapist of color in HABIF who can not just sympathize with students of color, but empathize with them. That is one thing that I fought for at my high school and I'm going to fight for it here. Lastly, I want to make sure that mental health is destigmatized. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. To clarify that question, the student who proposed this question is trying to say that all the while students are expected during this difficult time to operate at 100% capacity, which is extremely difficult. So how are you going to be able to support these students if elected for FYCC president? Okay. Leah?
Yeah. Of course. So I think it's very important to update WashU services. And I think, especially dealing with this issue, we have to further the education and programming for faculty and staff so they adequately can support struggling students and they really can empathize and understand their concerns. But aside from that, I think we also have to create more safe spaces for people to discuss this and not have that stigma, as Rita was saying, that was associated with mental health things. In addition, I also want to seek other ways to improve mental health, and that's just through relieving stress. We have to compensate now that a lot of the opportunities that first years usually would be involved with are not in person. We have to compensate for that. And to do that, we can offer some things like puppy therapy, freshman relaxation sessions, just to help help people in general to manage their workload and understand the struggles.
Becca?
Yeah, as Rita was saying, one of the biggest things that we need to focus on is destigmatizing mental health. The terms depression, anxiety get tossed around all the time in places that they shouldn't be used. And we need to foster open communication so that people know that it's okay. It is okay to not be okay. And that is something that's super important to get across. We need to have extensions and we need to foster those open communications, not just between peers, but between faculty and students. And to know that students, it's okay for students to need an extension and to just take some time for their mental health. We also only have one active therapist on campus. Not only do we need a therapist of color, we need a therapist that can relate to people of all different minorities. We need more opportunities for mental health, and that is super important and something that I will definitely work to make happen.
Julia?
Okay, there's a long list of ways WashU must rectify its current mental health situation, and the following list is of course not full. But first of all, the Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Center, or the RSVP Center, needs more therapists, and therapists and resources at Habit have to be more accessible on the weekends. Those are two main things I've heard students talk about. But we also need to combat mental health issues at their source, and one way I would work on that is by encouraging administrators and faculty to implement a policy where there's a reduction or just getting rid fully of normal homework during busy testing weeks, so you're not exacerbating stress. And loneliness is a huge issue for first years right now. It's being exacerbated by the pandemic, so we need to work on ways for students to meet each other more easily, which I can talk about more later.
Okay, thank you. The next question is regarding WUPD. What are your guys' views on WUPD, reforming WUPD, or potentially abolishing WUPD?
Part of the reason that I'm such a big proponent of the activist community is because of the Abolish WUPD action that I went to the other day taught me so much about Abolish WUPD and their platform. So there are two sides to Abolish WUPD. The power that policing systems undeniably have over marginalized people that they can and have abused, and the need to keep students safe. So any form of abolition or reform has to be followed by an alternative, a form that can keep students safe as well, be it community care or something else. The fact of the matter is that 50% of WashU student body is non-white, and many of them experience fear and trauma when they see an officer in uniform. Like I said, one of my closest friends was just brutalized by police, and so I want to make it clear that at the end of the day, we have to listen to students of color who are experiencing discrimination at the hands of police officers. We have to acknowledge there's a system of power in place, but we also need to keep students safe. So I would want to strike a balance between these two, and I would give Abolish WUPD a platform with the administration to voice their platform.
Leah?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't want to push my own agenda. That's something that's huge to me. I really want to listen to what other people have to say. So I think we need to facilitate forums and additional opportunities for passionate students to speak up out about their experience, and then they can be heard by key decision makers. So of course, concerns need to be addressed, but as Rita was saying, we also have to understand that the police department is commissioned by St. Louis County Police, and we don't have complete control, but what we really need to do is bring the conversation to the center of the stage, and where we could talk and reach a compromise about some possible enhancements we could bring or potential changes to WUPD.
Becca.
Yes, reform is undeniably necessary, but safety is everybody's first priority. So we really do need to strike a balance between what WUPD is doing right now and what the greater police force in St. Louis is doing right now. And we need to keep students safe, however that may be. And we need to listen to our peers. And of the utmost importance, we need to listen to those that are feeling persecuted by the police. We need to listen to those that are feeling marginalized and are feeling like they aren't safe on campus. And we need to have that open dialogue and communication and put their voices forward and give them a platform to speak to how they are feeling, and let them have open discourse with WUPD, and so we can all come to a compromise that we feel comfortable and safe about.
Thank you. Julia.
So I'm actually writing articles about this exact topic right now for Stud Life. So I'm not sure if I'm really supposed to take a stance, but I'm going to anyways because this is an incredibly important issue. And one of the interviews I was doing yesterday, actually, it was really illuminating, and it was with one of the WUPD for Abolition leaders. And one of the things she said that stood out to me was this idea that we have to let ourselves let ourselves see a future that's better than what we have now, because it's so easy to get grounded in the racist and systemically flawed systems that we have in place today. And so I think abolition in the fight for getting rid of the way the policing system works right now is incredibly important. And as everyone has said, it's of course also important to make sure students are staying safe. So we couldn't let that fall to the wayside, but students are making sure that isn't falling to the wayside. If you're listening to the students who are leading the push for abolition, they acknowledge how important safety is. That's a priority for them too. So they know that.
Okay. How will you all uphold free speech on campus and make sure students are exposed to viewpoints across the political spectrum if you are voted FYCC president?
So one club that I'm super excited about having joined on campus is called Truth. It's teaching racial understanding through honesty. and they're teaching me how to facilitate conversations between opposing viewpoints. And so one of the most important things I'm learning is that we have to at least sit down at the table. You know, we can't shut our minds off. We can't be closed-minded when it comes to these conversations. We're going to have different political opinions on campus. Actually, tomorrow there's a debate between college Democrats and Republicans that I encourage you guys to watch. And we need to make sure that we're respectful of each other's opinions without crossing the line onto dehumanizing or disenfranchising whole populations. We need to make sure we draw a line between what's a political belief and what's a humanitarian belief. There are certain issues that are currently politicized that are not at all political. They're humanitarian beliefs. Police brutality is a humanitarian belief. And so what I want to make sure is that when we're having these conversations, we're respectful, we sit down at the table, and we also are sure to be very understanding of each other's differences.
Leah?
One of the key ways that I think that we could foster free speech is through a communications network. This is something that I built in high school when I was the student council vice president, and it's a way that everybody can say their opinions on things, and we can coalesce everyone's voice to work through compromises on issues. We do not want to exist in an echo chamber. It's so important to actually not conjecture about what people believe and what changes we need on campus, but it is important to listen to all sides, and using that information, reach a compromise, listen to people, and understands everyone's point of view. So if I was elected as president, that's something I would really want to work on and focus to make sure that not a single voice would be left unheard.
Okay. Becca?
Yeah. The utmost importance, we need to make people feel comfortable sharing their opinions. We are on a college campus. Whether we like it or not, a lot of our viewpoints are the same. And those that don't feel similar don't feel comfortable speaking up because they feel like they're going to be persecuted. They're going to be attacked for their ideas. We need to make them feel comfortable sharing their ideas because you learn the most from people with differing opinions. It helps you strengthen your own ideas. It helps you strengthen your points and realize why you either believe or don't believe in your points. And whether you agree on one side or another, the most important thing is the difference between dialogue versus debate, and having a conversation where you can learn and a conversation where you can be enriched without attacking one another. I think it's really important to create that open communication, as well as having speakers and people with different political viewpoints or viewpoints in general that hold different degrees of power, so that students can be informed and they can carry that information towards one another and have those communication and open dialogue.
Julia?
Yeah, so I just want to second like what basically everyone said, definitely making sure that everyone feels comfortable having their voices heard, but there also have to be structured ways in which people can hear other opinions that they might not hear otherwise. And one place I think that this can stem from is like religious groups, right? And I'm Jewish, but I went to a Catholic mass service on campus for the first time ever a few weeks ago, and it was a really beautiful experience for me. And I think if we could create interfaith small groups where they get together and talk about their religious beliefs and maybe go to a service or something like that, that's one way for people to not only find community during these challenging times, but also to learn about new ideas. And I think that there's other ways we can do that, if it's maybe political groups that could form across different political ideas and things like that. It's concrete ways to have those voices be heard and shared.
Okay. Just as an FYI, this presidential debate portion is going to go on until 5:45, and then following that, we're going to move on to other candidates, just so everyone knows. Okay. The next question is, how will you all work to support students who choose to study remotely off campus due to the COVID pandemic? Rita.
So like I was saying before, class leniency needs to be something that we prioritize. Just because a class is on Zoom doesn't mean it's any less hard than any other class that we'll see on campus. So what I want to make sure is that students that are studying remotely this semester know that we have their back, that we're not forgetting them simply because we're on campus. I want to make sure that classes that are on Zoom through Canvas have more easily accessible options for alternatives. If you simply can't make it to class, if you need to take a mental health day, if you're burdened by the election, we need to make sure that these students have options. I also want to emphasize that part of the reason students can't come to campus is because of the pandemic. And so we need to do our obligation and follow social distancing guidelines and wear masks and test more often to make sure the students can come to campus when it is safe. So those are my two necessities when it comes to ensuring the safety of remote students.
Time. Leah?
Yeah, so based on a lot of the conversations I've had with remote and in-person students, people feel isolated. And this is especially the case if you're not on campus. It's just a lot harder this year with all the regulations, and being have to do everything remote makes it very hard to make friends and have bonding activities. So I would love to do things like an equitable gift exchange. And this could be, of course, via Zoom, and just sending letters, meeting new people, introducing yourself to others as well. And then centralizing the tutoring system. Right now we have everything on Zoom, so it's very hard to manage and adapt to the changing times. So one way to do that would be allowing everyone to have the opportunity to be tutored by upperclassmen rather than just having the departments as we currently have right now. So that's just two different ways that I would like to improve remote students' experience as well.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, I, along with everyone else, unfortunately knows what it's like to be remote, and it sucks. You feel so lonely. We spent all of the second half of our senior year. I took summer classes online at WashU, all via Zoom, and you feel so alone. You feel so lonely. And I think of the utmost importance, it is necessary that we allow these students to feel connected to our WashU community, whether it's remote, whether it's in person. I feel like everybody needs to be connected together. I'm lucky enough to have in every one of my classes students that are remote, and I think it's important to allow those students to feel included, whether we do more group projects that are between students that are on campus and students that are remote, whether we do movie nights with students that are off campus and students that are on campus and that are remote, whether we have game nights, things to allow these students to feel included, because you do feel so alone when you're on Zoom, and it's hard to make friends that way. And social media and game nights and things are really your only way to connect with students that are on campus that you will be with next semester.
Julia?
Yeah. Okay. So one idea is for there to be ways for people in the same major or minor or like just interests, academic interests that they have in common, to have Zoom meetings that they can meet up with. I think it's really very important that we have non-awkward ways for students to meet each other, because if you just say, oh, here's a random Zoom meeting that's happening, or you sort of make it about this loose idea, it's less likely that people are going to show up because they don't think it's like a thing that a lot of people are going to. And so I think if we narrow down the focus of these Zoom events, we could get more people to show up, and we could really have ways for people to find community. And in addition to that, Canvas is a disaster. A lot of students have talked about how difficult it is to know what's going on in their classes. So I would really advocate for teachers to be making it more clear what their assignments are, because that's hard for in-person and remote students.
Okay. How do you all plan to build and create a deeper sense of class community as the first year class president, especially given the COVID pandemic? Rita?
What's most important to me, I think, when it comes in terms of fostering a sense of community on campus, is making sure that we have a shared goal together. One thing that we can all agree on, regardless of income level or race or religion, is that we want to stay on campus. And so what I want to make sure is that students are able to hold each other accountable and be kind to each other. I want us to understand where each of us are coming from, but I also want us to make sure that we're holding each other accountable to social distancing guidelines, to wearing a mask, that we feel comfortable enough with each other that we can call each other out if, we don't feel the safest in an environment, that we feel like, say, our suite mates or our floor mates are maybe not being as COVID safe as possible on our floor. So what I want to make sure to be able to do that is to establish norms from the get-go, where students say, like, this is what we're comfortable with, and making it completely destigmatized to have boundaries and to have rules set on a floor or in a building. So that would be one major way that I think we could foster community.
Leah?
Obviously, since there are so many challenges that have presented themselves to our school and world as a whole, one way I think we need to really focus on bonding as a community. There are so many different activities that we can do safely and still have the ability to meet people and foster meaningful relationships that will really last a lifetime. And I'd like to include some more residential experience opportunities, activities, games, everything of course safe, treat booths outside of residential colleges, equitable gift exchange, as I mentioned before, movie screen. I just feel like we need to compensate for all the activities that we couldn't have in previous years by creating new and unique, fun ways to meet people and have a really memorable freshman year.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, community is everything. mean, it is so hard to meet people on Zoom, whether we like it or not. A lot of our classes are on Zoom, and it is hard to meet people in those classes. We need experiences. We need to be able to meet people in person. We need to be able to go to lunch with people. We need to have opportunities, maybe like we had at Brookings, like with the light show. Everybody was able to go down there safely and to participate in that together, and that was really memorable. We need to have movie screenings. We need to be able to utilize URSAs more as just a common hangout that's socially distanced and safe. And we do need to take safety as our first precaution and our biggest priority. We need more testing. We need to be able to hold each other accountable. We need to, I know with the winter months, it is really hard. We need to be able to be socially distanced in the tents. We are allowed to do that. We need to find, we can be in URSAs, we can be in BD. We need to be able to be socially distant and safe and stay on campus, as well as connecting with our community more and having more tangible opportunities to do so.
Julia?
Yes, so a few things. One is people might not have heard of Meet 24, which happened, and it was sort of trying to set up individual students. I think that can be, again, awkward for a lot of students to take part in. And I think one thing we could do is make a Meet 24 type situation, but for groups of people who share similar interests. It doesn't have to be academic. And that's one way we can create community. Additionally, as Becca was saying, the winter, we're gonna have to find ways to solutions for that. And I think one thing to do is under tents, use heat lamps. So there's ways for students to eat and work outside together. Anything to avoid the terrible plexiglass that makes it impossible to hear anyone. And so things like that to get people together in person, but also it can be online. Like that Meet 24 idea can completely take place online. And just in hearing what students have to say, like hearing where they want to be seeing people and what types of situations they want to be meeting people through. Yeah.
Okay. This will probably be our last question for the presidents, or the people running for president, excuse me. What is your number one goal if elected to the FYCC as president?
My number one goal, if elected as your president of the FYCC, is making sure that you have a voice. I never ever want you to feel like you can't speak up, maybe because you feel like you're too young, that, we're just freshmen, we don't know what's going on campus. I want you to be as informed as possible on every single issue. I want the university to be as transparent as possible with you, so you know what you're walking into when you step on campus in spring semester. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable enough to speak up, that you feel that the university values your opinion and wants to hear what you have to say, and not only will hear it, but will enact tangible change off of what you say. So that is my number one goal, making sure that students and administration are not two separate power levels, but on the same exact power level. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones here that are affected by each policy that the university administrates to us. And so what I want to make sure is that we have a say in those policies.
Yeah.
One of the main things I want to do is truly create the most memorable freshman experience, because we, as everybody has admitted, have such a hard time this year. So I want to give everyone academic resources, because I'm truly passionate about making sure that we can all succeed. And right now we have met so many hurdles, and it's more important than ever that we address that and add more resources to accommodate the changing times. In addition, I want to make memorable experiences for everyone, not one particular group, because we should have a sense of belonging and everyone should feel welcome on this campus. So those two things together are one of my central focuses, because it's so important that everyone is welcome and has a great freshman year experience.
Thank you. Becca?
I want to make sure that everyone feels included and that they have a voice and a platform to say whatever they want to say, so that they have a platform to be free and freedom of expression and be able to really speak their truth, because I think it's so important for students to be able to hear from their peers in an honest and open way, and to be able to have dialogue based off of that. And I want to make sure, I know it feels so lonely on campus and in your room all day taking these Zooms, and I want to make sure that everybody feels included in everything. And there are so many opportunities for students to get together safely and create these memories, because it is our first year and we do have these 4 years together, and if we do it correctly, they'll be the best 4 years of our entire lives.
Thank you, Becca. And last but not least, Julia.
Racial justice will be my main priority this year. Working to create tangible change to make the lives of POC students on our campus more comfortable is the most pressing issue facing our community currently. Yes, I will listen to what you say about any issue, and I want to work on things other than racial justice too, but our times are calling right now for this to be our main push and our main, where our energy is funneled and where our time is funneled. And so, yes, I want to work on helping the community find ways for people to get together and all of that. But if we are unable to confront this issue head on and pour our time into this, we're not going to see the progress and the change that we need to see immediately. This is an issue for right now.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. Good round of applause. Our candidates again are Rita, Leah, Becca, and Julia for FYCC president. Okay, now we're going to move on in the debate to the VP administration positions, which is also which is also being a contested position. Both candidates are Sarah and Jordan. Let's start with Sarah. If she'd like to introduce herself, just give your name, pronouns, and the position you're running for.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Sarah DiPietra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm running for the VP of Administration position.
Thank you. Jordan?
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan and I'll be running for Vice President, and I use my pronouns are she, her, hers. Thank you.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys. Just as an FYI to all the constituents in the Zoom, you can always publish or post your questions in the poll everywhere that is linked in the chat. I'm just gonna put that in there again. Please feel free to ask questions using the poll everywhere. I'm going to ask other SU questions in the meantime, but obviously the more engagement, the better. This has been going really great, guys. Thank you so much for so much engagement. Okay. All right. So Sarah, let's start with you. The very first question that I'm going to ask you both is, what do you think is the focus of the VP admin role? Again, you will have 45 seconds to answer each question.
So for me, the focus of the role is creating transparency between the student body and the administration. So like as in the title, VP of Administration, the goal is to create a bridge between the students' desires and communication with the university. So my main priorities with that are to communicate students' needs and students' struggles in the now really confusing times, and emphasize that everybody should feel comfortable sharing with the university how they're feeling, as well as university transparency between their decisions, whether it be COVID policies or testing policies, final exam policies, whatever it may be. I think it's really important to maintain a good relationship between the student body and the administration.
Jordan.
My main role is to amplify low-income, underrepresented students. There are only 21 minorities in the class of 2024, and I really want to amplify that. And my other role is to assist the president and make sure that whichever platform that they're running on, that I do a good job and do my role to assist them and work hard to amplify the voices of underrepresented students. Additionally, I want to expand the mental health resources. It's evident that there is not that much resources available, especially during the pandemic when there's a lot of turmoil and challenges. I especially want to make sure that all the students feel like they have the resources to be a student and have their health looked after. And then the last one is just making sure that every student has the necessary tools to.
Sorry, time.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay. The next question is, how do you see teamwork as a critical part of the VP administration role? Sarah?
I think teamwork is something that's really important because it allows people with different backgrounds to voice their opinions and ideas and make sure that the university understands that there is a diverse amount of perspectives and backgrounds and opinions. And I think that that's something that's really important in terms of working with other people and making sure that as a team, everybody has mutual respect and that the university is able to understand people's different, I guess, again, struggles and be able to create a community where everybody is comfortable in their classes and with social distancing and other COVID-related issues.
Thank you. Jordan?
I believe that everyone has a voice, and making sure that everyone's voices is heard is especially important, especially for low-income and minority students, and we really want to make sure that their needs are met and they have the voice and are comfortable sharing that with us. And partnering with the cultural organizations here on campus is a good way to start with that, and then assist in following through and creating solutions to make sure that their voices are heard and everything is met.
Thank you. The next question is, so a big part of being in this role is developing relationships with administrators and other leaders. What are some of your professional strong suits that will make you a good candidate for this role? Sarah?
Well, I'm highly motivated and very persistent, which I think is a strength that most people may see it as a negative. But I will always push for students' beliefs and make sure that they're being heard. Despite if there's certain pushback from the university, it's my priority to ensure that everybody's voice is being heard by the university, and that basically it is just important that they are able to hear what we have to say and understand what we're going through. And just make sure that everybody is in agreement of certain policies and that things are not overstepping certain boundaries.
Time. Jordan?
I definitely believe that I am very motivated and passionate about these problems that we are currently facing. And I believe that not just taking the initiative, but also following through and making sure that I am accountable for my actions and everything that I plan to do. So additionally to that, I also believe that making sure that everyone is motivated, and then making sure that everyone has the right to voice their opinions, and then making sure that I am listening to them and taking account to everything that there are, the changes that they're wanting to make.
Thank you. And the last question that I'll be asking you all from SU's end is, what is one primary goal as VP administration that you hope to achieve if you are elected to this position? Sarah?
I think my main goal would be the ability to facilitate indoor areas that maintain COVID safety, because I don't know if anybody else has heard, but they are closing the lower level of the duck and it's only reserving it for people who are eating. And I think with winter coming, people are going to resort to breaking rules and not following COVID guidelines. And I think it's really important, like Julia said, to maybe have outside tents with heat lamps, or just kind of spaces where people can socialize, because that is just so important with everything going on. And after spending all day on Zoom, it's really good to be able to see other people in person. And I really want to work with the university to ensure that there are spaces where students can do that safely.
Thank you so much. Jordan?
I want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and is in this community that we call WashU. We all have we all can take a part in addressing the issues that we now face. There are definitely a lot of things that we can do to make this a better campus. And I believe that we all can work together and collaborate to create the change that we want to see.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Again, that's Sarah Di Pietra, and sorry, did I say that right? And
Yeah,
Joy,
you're Pietra.
yes, for VP Administration. Round of applause. Thank you so much for joining the debate. Okay, now moving on, the next position that we will be discussing is the VP Finance, which is an uncontested position, and that includes Noah Vermes. Noah, did you want to quickly introduce yourself, your name, pronouns?
Hi, I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him, his.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, Noah's running for VP Finance. Again, there will be 45-second speaking limits. If anyone has any questions for Noah, please, please, please ask in the poll everywhere that's in the Zoom chat, or you can also message me privately in the Zoom chat. I really appreciate all the engagement we've had so far, and I hope to continue that. Okay, moving forward, Noah, how do you think finance impacts the decisions that you are going to make in class council, if elected?
So, coming from a low income background, I understand the impact that just money in general can play as a barrier, I guess, between what we're trying to accomplish here as students at WashU and really the realistic expectations that we have to set on ourselves, where sometimes you can't. I've had conversations with friends about meal points and things like that. So making sure that we have these consistent conversations with students about what they need to be most successful in their time at WashU.
Thank you. My next question is, as a first-year student, how do you hope to combat the learning curve that usually comes with learning the financial background and the financial policies of student union as FYCC VP Finance?
So I believe that the most important thing is communication with others. And I believe that one major aspect of my time here at WashU has been working on making friends and working on networking and engaging with other people, where from then on I can learn from the people that came before me, working in student government, student union, Senate, Treasury, just finding ways to connect with faculty members that can help me or other students that have done the position before and really could show me the ropes. Moreover, I would spend consistent time in trainings and communicating with others to gain a better understanding of the policies and what they're used for.
Thank you. How will you choose to budget and prioritize the funds allocated to the first-year class council?
As stated prior, for right now, I do not have a broad enough understanding of what is needed for every single student. No one does. The only way you can gain a full understanding of what students need is by communicating with them. So I'm hoping to establish focus groups, randomized surveys, and just surveys that are there overall to gain a greater sense of what students want and what they need. As well, I want to hold office hours to ensure that students can come to me if they need anything, if they feel like they need a voice, as that's been the general theme of tonight, where they could just come up to me and tell me what they're struggling with. I can find the ways that I can best help them as VP Finance.
Thank you. And my last question for you tonight will be what your primary goal as VP Finance is going to be if elected to the position in FYCC. What do you hope to achieve?
My primary goal is really to get us involved in the community, which would simultaneously improve morale around campus and raise revenue for the first year class council. In addition, it would allow us to support small businesses around campus. There's a lot of small businesses on the loop, like United Provisions, like Avalon thrift stores. There's the Wizard's Wagon. And if we work with them on establishing fundraisers, providing coupons, subsidized ad space, we can bring in money for both that business and for us. As well, we get more people going out and doing things, which would combat the Zoom fatigue that we're all facing, which will combat the social aspects that we're struggling to find here. And as well, establishing a shop local movement and more work study opportunities, really just getting involved with the community to help out both our students and the surrounding area, because WashU is very fortunate to have the resources that we do.
Thank you so much. Again, that's Noah. He's running for VP Finance for the FYCC. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, moving on, we are going to move to the VP of Programming position. We have two candidates, Neha and Max. Neha, would you like to introduce yourselves with your name and your pronouns, please?
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming out tonight. My name is Neha Adari. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm running for Vice President of Programming.
Max.
Hi everyone, my name is Max Remy. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm running for also the VP of Programming.
Thank you both. Just again, as another reminder, you all have 45-second speaking limits. To all the constituents, again, please ask questions using the poll everywhere and maintain your engagement. Thank you again for everyone joining, and we'll get started. So my first question is, please tell us about an event that you've planned or have been involved in planning in the past, and what your role was in planning that event and how you contributed to its success. Neha?
So throughout high school, I have had so many leadership positions, and with that platform, I've been able to plan out some service projects and start my own initiatives. So one of my most prided memories was partnering with the University of Mississippi Medical Center by starting a program called Adopt a Floor, where I raised snacks and food items for patients who have unexpected long stays at the hospital. For me, it's always been finding the small things in the community that need attention brought to, and finding a way to raise attention to that and help solve that and combat it. Along with this, a part of National Honor Society, I served as the service chair, and I helped create art events, art projects, and lead them at a local nursing home, and also for a shelter for those with disabilities. And like I said before, it's just finding these small moments where I can get members of a club that's probably not even really associated with things like helping others, and also kind of merging those two together.
Max?
Well, besides having experience in a student council and National Honor Society, I saw a need in my church's ministry center for fresh produce, which was not currently available to them. So me and my friend got together and we started a community garden. We got to go together a group of people in order A, to first build the garden, and then B, we get a group of people together to then maintain the garden. And so far that's been able to bring fresh produce to our ministry center and provide to people who typically would not be able to have fresh produce available to them. And that's my main experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Max. Okay, my next question is, especially during this current pandemic that we are all facing, how do you all hope to have successful events? And how do you hope to have events that are able to engage the first year class in a safe manner?
So for me, as a remote student, I understand the struggles of being a remote student and not feeling connected with the class. And this is something that is a main priority of mine if I were to be Vice President of Programming for the FYCC. So of course, I would try to conduct things over Zoom just so that remote students would be able to participate. But how I would make these events stand out than rather being a general another Zoom that you have to attend and get zoomed out would be by making them fun and engaging, having fun advertisements, maybe having prizes, or kind of having a fun way to where people can just kind of take a brain break and also focus on their mental health. So just being there for everyone and making sure that they always have an open space to just come walk into. Thank you.
Thank you. Max?
For one thing, with it about to be getting so cold and outdoor events being much harder to be able to do, I would like there to be, especially in the tent areas, for there to be heating stations, for there to be outdoor events available for people. But I also like to have more events for also students who are remote learners, so they can be able to participate with students that are also on campus. They not feel like they're isolated from campus.
Thank you so much. Our next question is coming from a constituent. What are the ways that you will get first year's opinions on the kinds of events that first years want to see? Neha?
So for me, my plan is to first hear from people to see what kind of events they want. I don't want to produce events and put them out there if they're ones that people have no interest in coming to. And so I am very open to maybe like sending out my information for people to always send me maybe some ideas or anything that they have. I think what's most important about being a leader is being open to listening to others' ideas, and that's usually where you can get the best ideas. For me, I've heard so many things about how students don't feel really comfortable, whether it's like remote students having their Zoom pictures just blown up on the whiteboard in front of everyone. So I want to make sure to where no one feels embarrassed or to where they feel like they can't just have a good time and enjoy. As well as I also want to include, oh, is that my time?
Yeah, sorry. No worries. Max?
Well, first of all, I'd like to have my personal phone number and email available for people to communicate with me and let me know their ideas and opinions about events that are coming up. I would also like to get polls together for people to be able to voice their opinions on that and get feedback so that we're planning events that people would like to attend, first of all. And that secondly, we can implement their ideas into that event so it's more engaging to them and possibly more fun.
Okay, thank you so much. This is the next question. How do you all hope to have equitable and inclusive programming for students of not only diverse backgrounds, but for students who are also remote and unable to engage on campus as much as in-person students?
So like how I mentioned before, I feel like Zoom is probably the best way that I could help engage remote students to also have discussions with students that are on campus. And one of my ideas that I've listed out on my campaign plan is hosting like a webinar or panel series where it's by students for students to enable discussion among students to discuss serious topics such as racial issues, social injustice, and also ways that they can be involved in no matter their location and situation. I think this is something very important, and I think providing this resource will allow students to kind of also find the need of how they can help out in their community.
Thank you. Max?
Well, also, I like to do it mostly through Zoom, but I would like there to be more affinity spaces for people. Personally, I'm Native American, and there isn't any groups on campus for people of my background. So definitely highlighting and bringing about more affinity spaces for people to not only share their culture with others of the same culture background, but also be able to mingle and share their perspective with other people from different perspectives so that there's more of a general discussion and that people aren't closed off from each other.
Thank you. And this is the last question for you all. If anyone else has any questions as constituents, oh yes, we have a constituent question. Amazing. Okay. Okay. Many of the fun activities include decorating, not available to remote students. So how will you all push increased funding for students who want to participate remotely?
So of course, I know that not everything can be made accessible to remote students, and that's just sadly the downside of that. And with having a majority of students on campus, I still will push for them to be able to have in-person events, because no matter how much you Zoom, there's only so much that you can get out of it from personal interactions. So definitely I'm open to having some in-person events. Because I'm not in person, I obviously do not know the circumstances and how that would work out right now, but I'm definitely open to listening to others' ideas and seeing what would students be attracted to actually attending and programs that they would enjoy.
Thank you. Max?
Again, to reiterate, I like to set up polls for people, especially remote students, to give their opinions on events so that we can get more feedback about what events we should push and what events that we shouldn't. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This will be my last question for the VP programming candidates. Oh, just kidding. We have another constituent question. Political issues have been a contested issue on campus. How will you distribute the amount of conservative and liberal speakers, exposing students to a wide array of viewpoints? Neha?
So first, if I were to ever bring in these speakers, I would first want to see if these were the people that people want to listen to, and that they're the ones that they would want to come to a program that I create and they would want to learn more about. So I would never want to first bring anyone that someone feels that they don't feel comfortable to listening to. And also I want to make sure that I'm not going to bring any bias to any event that's planned. Everything would be out and open, all sides presented. One of the greatest things of being on a university, especially like WashU, is that there's so many new people and with different ideas and different thoughts and opinions. And I think that's an amazing thing to help facilitate discussion. So that's definitely something that I would take consideration. Sorry.
No worries. Max?
Definitely, I would like to push for bipartisan people throughout any discussion that we have. You can't have one side being the dominant position in anything. You have to be able to let different perspectives and ideas be present throughout any discussion we have.
Thank you. This is going to be my last question for VP programming. Tell us about any event that caught your eye or that you've been a part of on campus, and why you took an interest in it, and what you hope to take from that and implement as a VP programming. Neha?
So recently I got accepted into SBCH, and it's basically an organization where you serve as like a nutritional counselor to those of low income and kind of help them navigate ways that they can take better care of their health. We have not really started because everything has been moved around with this semester, but just talking to the people and getting to know others, what has definitely been inspiring me is seeing how I can take a part in helping others who are struggling maybe more than I am during this situation, and seeing ways that I can still help them. And that's something that I definitely will strive for programming for this semester as VP of programming, by creating ways where people can be civically engaged, maybe whether that's virtually or through creating safe ways in person, as well as finding ways that people can also volunteer virtually. Yeah.
Thank you. Max?
A program I've recently got involved with is the Burning Kumquat, which is the campus gardening. That's one thing I did a lot when I was back home, was gardening. So it's kind of nice to be able to bring that to campus, and it's in person. So that's kind of nice, and I would definitely like to be able to push and show people who may not know that there are on campus like things you can do in person with people. So definitely pushing for because sometimes we don't always know what's happening on campus, so letting people know exactly what's in person, what people can do in person, and just giving more information on that.
Okay. Thank you so much to the candidates running for VP programming. Again, to recap, that's Neha and Max. Round of applause. Okay. Now we're moving to the last but not least position in FYCC, which is the VP of Public Relations. Joe, if you'd like to introduce yourself, give your name, your pronouns, that'd be really great.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into this debate. My name is Jo Palisak. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm running for Vice President of Public Relations.
Thank you so much. Again, as a final reminder, please, please, please keep up engagement. This has been a really, really amazingly engaged debate over Zoom. I'm going to drop the link again to the poll everywhere. If you guys have any questions for Jo or any other candidate, please just submit it there and we will address it. Okay. So continuing on, Jo, my first question for you is, what are the best ways to communicate FYCC events with your class, and especially during the COVID pandemic? What are your plans to disseminate information?
Yeah, so I definitely think that in our generation of technology, social media is really the best way to communicate with the student body, because if I'm being real, I feel like a lot of us are on social media way more than we are checking our email. Although I do think email is very important, I do think that social media is a very good platform for informing the public of events happening on campus, and as well the inner workings of the first year class council as well.
Thank you. Okay, my next question is, do you have any particularly creative ideas on how you plan to market FYCC events to your class, especially given the current pandemic?
Yeah, I think that in this pandemic, the pandemic has really created cool new virtual ways of communicating with large groups of people because of the necessity of doing that in a virtual platform. So I do think that polls and, like I said, social media and games and virtual events are really great ways of speaking with the public, even though we all would wish to have more in-person interaction. We do have to follow the COVID guidelines. So I'm sure a lot of us, if anyone knows Kahoot, we played that in high school. I know everyone got super pumped for Kahoot days, and I feel like that's a really good way of communicating with the student body.
Thank you so much. My next question is, what are specific qualities of yours that make you especially suited to be the VP of PR?
Yeah, so I think that I'm a very, very organized person, and I love to take people's ideas and find middle ground. I feel like it's really important to get everyone's opinion, everyone's perspective, and combine them to make the majority of the people as happy as they can be. Because I know that not every decision, there will be some unhappy people, unfortunately. That's just the way of the world. But as long as we can get perspectives from everyone, I think that that is how we can effectively communicate with the student body. I also have a lot of experience in publicity. In high school, I was the president of my theater company, and I handled the publicity of that. So I ran the social media account. I reached out to parents, to the community, to the theater community, and theater communities outside of our school as well. And I got a lot of turnout for our events.
Thank you. Our next question is from a constituent. Which values of the university will you prioritize, and how will you combat values that are not held by all students?
Yeah, so even though we've only been here as first years for maybe 2 months now, WashU has already proven to me how supportive, how close-knit this amazing environment, this amazing community has been. And I think that is really what we need to foster. We don't have to be a competitive, completely academic-driven environment, because we do need social interaction. This is the place where we're going to make memories. You know, everyone always talks about their college years, and this is the very beginning of our college years, and this is when we're going to make connections that we're going to have the rest of our lives. So we definitely need to foster our supportive environment rather than trying to pull others down to get on top. And I also think that people who do not share those values, it's a tough situation, because I do think that everyone needs to be supportive of each other, and unpopular opinions do need to be heard, and considered. Just like I said, all perspectives need to be considered.
Time. Okay. Our next question is also from a constituent. How will you work with both students and other student council members to have a productive impact on campus?
Yeah, so I think that the most important thing of my position is providing transparency from the first year class council to the student body. So the student body should never ever feel as though decisions are being made without them knowing. The point of the first year council is so that our freshman class has a seat at the table where decisions are being made. So we are not making decisions on your behalf. We are taking your input and taking action for you with the connections that we have.
Thank you. The next question is also from a constituent. How will you make sure that minority voices are heard as VPPR?
Yeah, so this has been a very big topic that I've been thinking about lately. And I think that in light of what is happening, I think that one of our biggest initiatives, publicity-wise, should be publicity for POC student groups, student-run groups. That way people of color don't feel that they're alone, that they can speak out and that they have a community. And I also think it's important for that initiative for people who are not people of color to educate themselves and learn how to be allies, not saviors.
Thank you. My next question is, what is your primary goal as the VPPR and how do you hope to achieve it this year?
Yes, my number one goal is honestly to allow people ways of making memories in the next 4 years of our college years, because like I touched on earlier, I do think that being in college should not be a purely academic environment. We should be making friends that we are going to have the rest of our lives. And although it is harder in this virtual environment to bring people together, I definitely think there are ways of doing that while still including people who are studying from their homes, wherever they may be. Let's see, my goal also is to publicity, I think, is not just for events, but especially during COVID times when people are struggling financially. I do think it's really important to publicize jobs on campus and provide a forum where people can easily apply for jobs that are easily reachable on campus.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe there are no other questions from constituents. Thank you to everyone. Thank you so much, Joe, first for finishing off this debate.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to all the FYCC candidates that were able to attend and participate in this debate. The debate we can end 30 minutes early unless any specific constituents want to stay around and talk to anyone in particular. But other than that, congratulations, everyone. Elections are on Thursday. Please come out and vote. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Good job, everyone, to everyone who's running. Good job.
Yeah,
great.
great job.
Did a great job.
Thank you.
If anybody is a constituent as well, you guys were really active on Poll Everywhere. That made my job really easy, just copying, pasting things to other class. So yeah, thank you for everything. You guys did a really great job. I really enjoyed listening to you guys.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick around. I'm not going to end the meeting, so if anyone wants to just talk, you can. Randy?
So I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
When does like the polling open on Thursday?
Polling opens on Thursday at so midnight Wednesday. So 12 a.m. Thursday. Makes
Gotcha.
Rainan, did you want to say anything? I don't even think he's paying attention. Okay. Okay.
Neha, was that your little brother in the background?
Yes, he just walked in because he likes to like come upstairs and spend time with me. So he was begging me to unlock my door, so I had to let him in.
Oh.
Perks of being a remote student.
That's true. I miss my little brother.
Yeah, it's been great spending time with him.
Oh, there you are, Rainan. Did you have anything you wanted to say to any of the candidates
I
before?
think all of you did so fantastic. And as someone who was in FYCC last year, I'm so excited that all of you are running because, I mean, we really hit the jackpot this year. Like, all of you are so fantastic. So no matter what happens in this election, I hope you know that Student Union will always have a place for you. If you have any questions before the actual election date, feel free to text me. I'm gonna drop my number in the chat. I know how stressful it can be. I know that we all hate midterms because, of course, we hate midterms. We hate her. But, you know, take time for yourself, relax, make sure to do self-care, and know that all of you are doing God's work.
Yes, you know, as always, the same goes for me. I think you all have my number, so you guys can always text me. I'm pretty responsive. So yeah. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and actually end this meeting. Oh, we have a new, okay. Hello. Hello, hello.
What happened? Did someone just join?
Yeah, 2 people joined.
Girl,
God.
I mean, my schedule is off, but I mean, this is, if it makes you feel any better. Okay, if it makes you all, actually, that's mean of me. If it makes you feel any better, this morning I had a class that started at 10 a.m. and I woke up for that class at 11:20 a.m. as I should. And then I emailed the professor a long 5-paragraph email that was like, hello, Professor Aksoy. I did last night at 6:30 a.m. So I did miss your class this morning. Totally napped through it. So funny. Anyways, I will get the notes from someone else. Well, please don't hate me. Please don't fail me. So, you know, we're all there. This is literally this is the vibes.
Literally, James was like, I'm loafing around. Let's go buy water.
Girl, anyway, that's because I hate doing homework until I remember that it's like due.
Like 3 a.m. It's fine. We're all dying.
I have to pee really badly. I'm gonna sign off now, but it was great. Great job, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Please, you guys can leave.
Thank you.
Hey, also, Carson, are you on the election commission?
Thank you.
Yeah. I like joined this past week, so
Yeah.
Chronic.
Man, love having him on the election commission. Doing great, bud.
Thank you.
Okay. See you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna
Thank you guys.
Thank you.